Hey everybody, it's me, Rachel Marie, and I'm here with my good friend and fellow Master Cosmo, Jennelle Llantin of Bonnie and Clyde's salon in Sandy Springs, Buckhead. So I want to start off with asking you to tell everyone how you got into cosmetology, like what made you go to school and when.
That's a great question. So I went in 2008. I graduated in 2007. So the economy was in shambles.
Okay.
I was looking at colleges, and honestly, every time I looked at a college and I saw the professions and the majors, nothing piqued my interest.
Okay.
So even if you're a great student, yes, cosmetology is not a second option. You can go the first time because you wanted to and it piqued your interest. College can be a second option. A lot of times people think cosmetology is only for that.
Yeah, because you didn't make it.
Right. It's like obviously you weren't a good enough student, but I was a great student, just didn't want to. So actually college was a secondary option. I thought I'm going to go first. It's the only year of my time to see if I like it. And if I don't, then I'll go to college. And I never looked back.
Okay.
So it was that. There's no interest in majoring in any of the things that were available to me. And it was practical. The economy wasn't doing well. I wanted to do something where I couldn't be displaced.
True.
Yeah, and replaced by a machine, and there was some kind of connection and people chose to be there.
Right.
So I thought this will be the thing to do. So I went to cosmetology school, hated it.
Okay.
And then did men's hair.
Okay.
And then fell in love.
So you chose to do men's hair like in school or
Yes.
towards the end of school?
In school, I was going to do everything. The plan was to be a cosmetologist and do just a full service salon. And I had a teacher that didn't like me much. And the only compliment he ever gave me was, those men keep coming back. It seems to be your niche. And I thought about it. So I thought that'll be on the back burner again. And about 3 months out of school, I was at a salon and decided to go ahead and jump ship and do men's hair.
Okay. So once you graduated from school, you obviously have a few choices on how you're going to go ahead and make your money. So we have everybody knows about the major chain salons. And then there's something called booth rent where you pay someone a weekly fee or however you set it up to work at their chair in their salon. Then you have commissions, and am I missing anything?
And then hourly.
Okay.
Hourly pay.
True. There is. But, there's that hourly pay, right? So did you know what avenue you wanted to take immediately once you left school?
Yes, I will say, not necessarily the place, but I knew I wanted to get paid commission.
Okay.
I wanted to get paid for the amount of effort I put into something and have that incentive. So I knew for sure that's what I wanted to do. Was
booth rent ever an option for you?
Initially, no. I mean, I think that's really hard to pull off if you're out of school with no clients. It's almost impossible. I was in a particular situation. I started on front desk till I was able to transition out and have my license fully.
Okay.
So I had a buffer, so I was able to do some reception hours till I went out to stylist full time.
Okay.
They were actually a combination of hourly plus a small percentage of commission.
Okay. So then how many times throughout your career, how long have you been doing this now?
11 years.
Okay. So in your 11 years, how many times have you chained? And obviously now she's independent, but how many times have you done both?
Oh, I have chained 3 times.
Okay.
Which have all been the same chain.
Okay.
And then I have gone independent salons twice.
Okay. Now, a little tidbit. She left us here in Atlanta and moved to Tennessee.
I did move to Chattanooga for a year.
For a little bit. Were you doing hair there?
Oh, that's 3 times then. Yes, I was.
Okay. Did you chain or did you not chain?
I did not chain.
You did not chain? You soloed it?
I semi'd. In Chattanooga at the time, there was no upscale men places that existed.
Okay.
It was a barbershop and then a sport clips kind of chain.
Okay.
And that was it. And so an higher end price point men's place did not exist.
Okay.
So I went to a salon, asked them to commission me, but I would run it semi-independently. I made up my own thing pretty much. And after 5 or 6 salons, I talked one of them into doing it.
Okay. Because it's funny that you say that, because she's really business savvy. You know how I feel about you and like your brain and how it takes. So that's interesting that you went there and you were like, I don't see what I'm looking for, so I'm gonna just make my lane. And I know we hear people say stuff like that all the time, either like stay in your lane, or if there's no lane for you, create your own lane. Like, I feel like you do that extremely well, like creating your own lane.
It's hard though. It's easier said than done. You can create your own lane. It sounds cool, but get ready to struggle.
It's work.
Yeah.
It's work. And you definitely can't be defeated about like driving on an unpaved road per se, right?
Yeah.
And maybe feeling like you don't have the right vehicle for this unpaved road.
Yeah, there's no map for it.
No, getting lost in the woods.
Lots of that going
on. So what do you think are some pros to chaining and some of the, in your opinion, cons?
Okay, pros to chaining is some level, there's gonna be some marketing and some brand recognition. Even if 10 people know about it, let me tell you, every client your chair is a victory. So when you see a chain out there and even 100 people in a city know, that's an advantage for you. So usually there's some kind of brand recognition or marketing that's already happened in place to bring a client to your chair.
Right.
The next thing is there's some safety in that as far as hourly for sure. They're big enough, they have the manpower enough to, in the capital, to give you an hourly if you're really worried about that at first. Those are the pros. Structure. If you like structure, and I don't care if you do or don't, at the beginning, structure is so important to figure out what you do and don't like. You can make your own structure based on piecing together different procedures, processes, things that you've seen people do. So I think the other pro is exposure and structure. And then really is, if you're at the right place, it's reward. So you get some reward for being consistent and long-term with those. And again, it's all very structured and spelled out. So those are the pros, which I think are excellent when you start off anywhere. The cons are you are limited financially. You're going to hit that roof. And it may be a long while. It took me many years to hit that roof.
Right.
But it's going to happen. They have to make money off of you. And if they're not physically there cutting that hair, they can only give you so much. And it's not because they're bad owners. That I hear people do that. They dog out the owners and, oh, I want more and I want more. But at the end of the day, they're paying for the lights to go on. That's why your name is not on that lease. You have that advantage of not taking that risk. They can only give you so much. They have bills to pay on their end.
Right.
And so that's just a necessary evil. The other thing is that structure is also a con. If you are ready to do things your own, now I was blessed with a place that I worked at too and chained where they said, yeah, you can have some leeway, or you can even have some say in our process.
Oh.
Yes. So
are we talking about our place?
We are. Okay, yes. Okay. When we first opened, the corporate parameters were not really tight enough and were not good enough, and I felt like it would affect the performance of the store. So I came in and said, I want us to do this process. I want us to change the shape and do it this way, or do the haircut this way. We should turn each customer in this exact thing. And before we know it, to this day still, that's what they do every day, and nobody knows it.
And we're kind of like, I guess you would say, one of the leaders as far as that particular chain.
Yeah, that particular chain,
and a lot of people are modeling.
Yes, they don't
that
know
structure, but little do they know you have a lot to do with that. That's dope.
So, which it feels cool though. But honestly, once again, that's hats off to the owners, not to me. I didn't go like, I have these great ideas. No, I changed many times and see what worked and didn't.
Right.
And I combined all of them. I said XYZ works, and they said, okay, sir, plug that in. Cool. They were the ones that were brave enough to let me take the realm on that, which is pretty cool. It says something about them. And so yeah, to this day. They are usually the first and second out of 85 chains. They're the highest performing. They're usually 1 or 2 every month. And the owner did tell me that. She said, I want you to know we still use those things today and appreciate it. I thought that was super cool. So, but that's rare. I feel like that's unusual in a chain.
It is rare, because if I would have to say, although I haven't, like in my article, I haven't fully listed out the pros like all of the pros and all of the cons. In my opinion, I would say that would be a con, especially if you're dealing with a chain that is one of those super big ones. Not gonna throw anybody's names out there.
Yeah.
That is a super big chain. I did talk a little bit about how like it is structured more so like a typical 9 to 5 job. And with us being super creative and free kind of people, if that whole 9 to 5 structure might be a problem for you.
Yes.
And then all of the corporate type rules and regulations that go with having such a traditional structure, even though it's in the cosmetology setting.
Yeah.
But for me in particular, I never went solo. But the reason I didn't go solo is because having worked at the chain salons and just taking every opportunity I could to learn about how to run salons, how to manage salons, like being in management positions, getting to go to these district meetings and listen to what they talk about and look at everything that's focused. I was like, I don't want that drama. Like, I don't want to deal with it. You know, I just want to come to work and I want to work and I want to go home and just like do me.
Right.
So I feel like
yeah, I feel like you found
that for me.
It did, but you also went to there's different degrees of chaining too. They're not all created equally. All chains are not, you know? And so you went to one that's a little more independent, where each owner has a lot more to say. And I feel like you struck a middle ground all the way from, you went from one chain extreme, I feel like, where like, this is how we cut hair exactly.
Right.
To now you got to add your Rachel Flair. And you know, you have some leeway to be you and add that in, but still have that structure. Mm-hmm.
And then with everything happening with me having my baby, and then I have definitely thought about like, you know, maybe it was supposed to happen how it happened, because if I were to have been like a business owner, what would happen to my business when they put me on bed rest for almost 2 months before I even had my baby? You know, because there's nobody else doing hair for you. Your customers don't have the time to wait around for that. So I was super lucky that I was able to deal with that situation, have my baby, stay home with my baby. And they were like, hey, so, you know, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, you know, I'll just start off with Saturday. They were like, cool, let me know when you want to work some more. And even still to this day, they'll just check in with me and be like, you want more hours? Because you just let me know if you want more hours. And I mean, this is a 1.5 years after I've had my baby, and they're just fine with that. So I will say, and I've told them too, that I feel like I've struck like gold as far as like being in a chain type establishment, but having that freedom almost.
Well, I was gonna say you struck another pro I didn't even think about, because it kind of it kept your customers warm, so to speak. Like they're just one chair away. And so they can jump right back into yours, and even amongst your coworkers, there's an understanding that they have some loyalty to you and that they're gonna come back to you. So that's a huge advantage. I did even
have people who were like, nah, and they waited. They were like, nah.
I always have those,
Literally, one guy was like, I'm not good with change. I'm not good with change. I just thought that was funny. Something else I think some people think is a con, but I think it just depends on what floats your boat, is that if you think about it, now in our case where we came from together, there aren't that many deals out there like that.
Yes. That
you get. So I will say that, like, we got good deals.
Yeah, we did.
One of the best people that you could work for are these individuals. But I don't have like their numbers per se, but if I were to have their numbers, I do feel like with what was offered to me as far as like, you're gonna work this and I'll give you this commission, I feel like it would kind of be almost equal to like if I'm paying rent and lights and water and buying equipment
and
out. Whatever. I feel like it's a good balance for you taking care of all of that.
Yes.
Here's your percentage for dealing with all of that.
Absolutely.
I think some people look at it just like as a con period. Oh, it's somebody else. I want all that money, but you're not going to get all that money.
No, it costs a lot of money.
you have bills. You're going to have to pay. Do. And so if you're know your worth, you got good negotiation skills, you know, you can negotiate yourself a good percentage, a good percent commission, to where like if you really sat and thought about it, it's like, okay, here's this for paying the bills, having the roof, having good equipment. You don't have to fix a chair, you don't have to deal with water, you don't have to anything.
Yeah.
You got people answering the phones for you,
Huge.
making your appointments, getting towel, doing the laundry. Like there's a lot of stuff that if you really think about it, like here's your percentage, and that's
absolutely.
cool.
No, it is. Yeah, it people too. When I went off on my own, and they know, you know, and I charge this or that, and they were like, oh, at my tips, some of them start tipping me less, and we're audibly, well, since you're keeping this money now, I'm gonna, you know, just do this much. And I said, that's really cute. You understand though, when I'm not in the building now, it costs me money. Before I was at zero. Now, no matter what, I have to pay for the space, for my product, for the back bar. A credit card fee is happening now, or to process that. So all those things, like, no, it actually still costs me. Now it costs me money to not be present. Before it was just zero.
Right.
So those people think that, and other stylists too think that, oh, you have all this money now. No, you are still shelling money out, no matter what.
So have you actually had a customer kind of maybe verbally hint like, oh, well, you're making a little more money now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I do let them know quickly that expenses are a thing that is, I think that's very cute and idealistic, but no, I have a lot of, I'm upfronting a lot of costs now, you know, so.
So you've been on your own now, independent, for how long?
For 1 year.
Just 1 year,
Just
not
1
even
year.
some months and some change?
Okay, a year and like a month, yeah.
Okay, that's it?
13 months.
Okay, because I was thinking more like a year and a half. I don't know why.
Oh, no, not quite there. No.
Okay, because the baby.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like you left very shortly. No, I was still pregnant.
Yeah, we had the baby shower and everything. Yeah.
When you left.
Yeah. No, no, the baby was born because I was right down the street. Remember that? And I said, I'm going to see this baby the day he's born. It's happening no matter what time. I'll be there.
It's like 8:30 at night.
On the nose. I was like, I have got to get out of here, go see that baby.
All right. Because I feel like, no, you're right. He was born because me and him had a doctor's appointment and we were in the area. Yeah. And I wanted to come and surprise you for your last day. And then I get there and there was like, oh, yeah, no, her last day was a couple of days ago.
They cut me off a little early. They were super already nice about it. They let me stay longer. Yeah.
So a year and a half on your own, what would you say has been your hardest obstacle?
Oh, well, I had to move areas.
Right.
I signed a non-compete. Be very leery of those, by the way. Make sure you really go over them, focus them, that you really weigh out, you know, what that means, because some states it's enforceable and some it's not actually. So also do that when you sign one. It is legal and enforceable in the state of Georgia within certain confines. Okay. So
when you say confines, you mean like a mileage,
within so many miles and so many years. Okay. Like for instance, and I've seen like gyms and stuff do this where it's like a 5-year 15-mile radius. That is absolutely not legal. It will not hold up in court in the state of Georgia. So like you need to do your homework. I had 2 different attorneys look at it, but it was real and very much enforceable. So yeah, it's real. So you need to remember what that means. But that being said, was a different setback. I still was able though to, it worked out fine. It was, the biggest obstacle was that though, when you have to switch that, because I know a lot of stylists will have to do that. You'll have to sign on, compete, work around that, and people will follow you, but a lot of people not. Keep in mind, depends how easy it is and how easy it is to work on your city. Because let me tell you what, maybe 3 miles in Chattanooga is not a big deal because it's not, but it's so densely populated where we are. I feel like it weighs a lot. To go 5 miles at 5 o'clock is an hour investment.
That is so true.
So it depends on that. It's like how is it easily traveled your city? And so that's a lot to do with it too. So the non-compete. The next thing is marketing. Okay. Marketing is the most frustrating thing When I first started running salons, it was like you put in your keywords in your website, you have 3 or 4 reviews, you're good to go. The algorithm changes every day now for Facebook, Instagram, and Google. People are almost exclusively finding you online. Your referral program can be great, that's wonderful and all, but you have to be consistent about your marketing. I'm not technology savvy, so it's been a roadblock for me.
Really?
I'm very good at, I like to sign up for festivals and stuff and pass cards out and do hair there. I am not great at the online thing. And once again, it's getting more complicated every day.
It is.
Even from a few months ago, the algorithms will change on who's going to show up and why and what area. So marketing is something you should do your homework about and have a budget set aside. I don't care what anybody says, even if it's just to boost posts on Facebook, which that's a whole nother discussion.
But you can boost posts on Instagram too.
You
and
can.
I just recently realized that you can do that with me setting up the Instagram page for the Cosmetology Chronicles on Instagram. And I remember I put my first post up there and they were like, do you want to boost this post? And I was like, oh, I didn't know we could do that.
You can, but you're either letting money on fire or you're not. And there's a very specific way to do that. I'm telling you, could be like, well, they're gone. Because I did on Facebook, I lit up a lot of money on fire, and to just views does not always translate to customers. So you want to do really methodical and really well thought out and really targeted marketing. You don't want to just see you have a lot of eyes. That's not important. And if it doesn't translate to a customer in your chair, it could be a waste.
Sure.
So marketing is important. Set a budget. I don't care what it is. Just make sure you have money set aside for marketing, and that includes your cards, referral cards, a plan of action too. When we first got that salon, we put cookies.
Okay. Yes.
I went to
that grand opening.
Yeah, we went to
so
American Cookie
cute.
Company, and I said, okay, we're gonna put your literature in here for free. You can donate cookies. Either way, I'm gonna have them in there, or you can charge me, and you're gonna make a whole, $18 off of me, and your literature won't be in there. They chose the latter. They said, come in tomorrow morning. We're gonna have fresh cookies for you. Put them all in bags. Put their literature in, ours, and complimentary haircut. And dropped it off to places that care about their appearance, like bar studios, and did all that. And real estate offices, and that worked really well.
So you went out with
guerrilla marketing.
Funny. We actually just heard a story about you and your love of guerrilla marketing.
What?
At her last team meeting.
What? What happened?
Yeah, we were talking about selling products. And talking about, like, because we're having some slow months, going out, like, they were kind of saying, like, you don't have to, but like if you want to, like, go out and like go to, I think we're by a oil change place, and go over there and say, hey fellas, we're like free for the next 30 minutes. You want to come over? We'll give you a haircut half off, blah, blah, blah. And they were, just kind of saying how that'd be definitely something you would get into with no problems.
Yeah. Oh, they told you I did that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I sure did. Within the hour, they were in the building. So.
Right. Did they really come?
Oh, yeah.
That's dope. That's dope.
Out.
You gotta have balls for that, though. Excuse me. But you gotta.
No, there's no shame. You got your shame at the door.
Yeah.
Like the day I was free from hearing no and not having that fear of that, I felt like I was like, I got this. There's nothing that can really ruffle me. Because it's, oh no, you hear no, then you're like, sure, no problem. It's just a no.
What would you say to a stylist that, let's just say they're making $12,000 a month for a company, and only getting a percentage of that?
Been there.
What what would you say to that stylist?
I would say you better show up and ask for a raise first. Max out first. Don't go off on your own yet. First of all, till you know everything you can about every aspect of that business, how it works and why, what you actually are contributing to their bottom line, because it's great you make $12,000. The chain we came from when we first started, they had the highest real estate in the entire franchise. So their break even is going to be way more. So what are you actually contributing to that business? So keep in mind, of course, they're not going to hand you hard numbers, but they maybe, you can get an idea. So keep that in mind, what you're actually offering, what you're bringing to the table, how much their real estate costs. Could you make that on your own? Because at the end of the day, if you're making them 12, but you only keep X amount, and even going off your own, and you could only produce 8, but you get to keep that 8, maybe that's worth it to you. So balance that first. And the other thing is, come with some negotiating power and leave your emotions on the table. It drives me crazy how many times I heard girls say, well, I deserve it and I feel like I earned it. I'm such a hard worker. Nobody cares. I'm so sorry. Emotions for at home, they're not for work. Leave those at the door. You show up, you ask your manager, whoever, what's my retention rate? What do I bring to the table every month? How much do I do in service sales, product sales, all that. When you're ready to negotiate an increase, you show up with numbers. People do not argue with numbers.
Sure.
I don't care if you feel like you needed a raise. Great, it doesn't matter. We are so lucky in our industry that we get to actually show in black and white what our value is and what we bring to it. So this is my retention rate and my return request and all that. They will have those numbers. If they don't, run, don't stay there. They should have all this information. So you show up, you say, this is all it is. This is what I think, I'm worth it. I'll get back to you in 3 days. You tell them when they're going to get back to you, because you can also be on a string for a long time with that. So show up with facts and numbers. Don't be a hairstylist, okay? Don't be a typical stylist in this way, and leave your emotions at home and on the table. They don't belong there. Bring them back up when you are done negotiating.
Is there a point that you think somebody who's chaining needs to reevaluate the situation and go, maybe chaining is no longer for me?
Yes. I think it goes where financially, obviously, your schedule, like you said, they were flexible with you with having a child and all that. When it runs into your quality of life where you can't give your family that time and energy, even if you are making that money, that may not be worth it to you. Yeah. So I would say if it interferes with your quality of life in far as your schedule, your time, or your money, those are the 2 biggest factors, then I'd say it's time to leave. And if it takes a toll on your mental health, if you feel like you're just unhappy there's so many avenues to go. You don't have an excuse in this industry to not be satisfied with your day-to-day.
True. True. Are there any avenues of cosmetology that you feel like have piqued your interest, but you never really checked into?
Yeah. Extensions.
Really?
Yeah.
So you've wanted to do like female's hair at some point?
Oh, no way. No.
Just wanted to know.
I found it interesting.
You just wanted to know how to do it.
And I found the paychecks interesting off of that.
I mean, yeah, but I will say this about that. I do feel like there are definitely ways to inflate that because of what you're offering, but the quality of service does not actually match what they're trying to charge you. So I would say if you're gonna be doing extensions, just make sure you get a certificate. Be certified. Like, learn how to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And yes, then you can definitely, big line, big numbers, because it's strenuous work, which, don't laugh at me, which is actually one of the reasons why I don't want to do females hair.
Amen.
Like, I did start off in full service, you know, I did it. And I just found that anytime a guy would come in and be like, let me get a haircut, I found it just way more enjoyable doing that than like the 3 hours I have to spend with I gotta do this, and then I gotta do this, and I gotta go do this. And don't get me wrong, when it's time to do this, that same 3 hours comes into play, and I still don't like it sitting down to have to do it. And I'm constantly with my stylist begging her, like, oh, maybe we don't have to do that this time, and we could just skip this
shorten
part
up the time a little bit.
Try to shorten up the time. It never works.
We're the worst clients.
It never ever works. And she always jokes with me and she's like, oh, when it's time to do your hair, like I gotta be mentally prepared for that. Like I got just like so much hair. And I'm like, no, you got way more. She's like,
so you saying it's strenuous,
no.
like the emotional part too is strenuous for
like,
you?
We just have to be in the right mental headspace. Yeah. Like even today's Thursday, so you know I go to work on Saturday. Tonight I have to do my hair and prepare it for the weekend, and it's what 2:00 in the afternoon, and I'm already dreading
thinking about it.
The 3 hours it's gonna take. My shoulders burning, hands hurt, and you know with doing this occupation and having that repetitive motion, I have repetitive injuries. So like my hands will go numb and stuff, even in the middle of me like twisting, like they'll go numb. Then I have to stop, and then maybe it's all that why it takes the production. But it wasn't until maybe 2 years or so into me doing hair that I decided, you know what, like this is not for me. I'm just gonna be like a barber. I'm just gonna cut hair. Like although I was good at doing women's hair, I just didn't like that whole.
The love wasn't in there.
I didn't like it.
Me too. It sounds like a fiasco. Like 3 hours with somebody. I can't.
It is a fiasco. And think about like, have you gotten color on your hair before?
Yeah.
Think about all that lightning. Then after you light it, you gotta shampoo it. Then after you shampoo it, you gotta put the color on. Then you gotta wash that out. Then you gotta condition it. Then you gotta dry it. Then you gotta do whatever. By the time you're done, you're tired. You don't want to do nobody else's hair day.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just watched my brother, and so he does women's hair, and I just do men's hair. And I watch him. I'm not even doing it. And I'm exhausted by the time he's done. Right. He's done 2.5, 3 hours later. And
it's the same person in the
entire time.
It's the same person. For anybody who's watching this and is getting offended, yes, we think that, oh my God, you're still here. I'm still doing your hair. 2 hours later, 3 hours later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But I also love men's hair. Just, you know, to cut out the jokes aside a little more, I think, because I feel like you have to be so much more precise.
Yes, there's no hair to mess up. There's little hair to mess up on.
I always say to them, you know, I feel like I have like 1/4 of an inch worth of leeway before I've messed your hair up. I've messed your hair up. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Whether it's ruined it or it's just now completely not exactly what you wanted. But I think with men's hair, if you're giving them something that they didn't want, then it is ruined. Even if it's still a good haircut.
Yep.
If it's not what they wanted, then it's ruined.
Well, I've had this conversation where like another really high styling, like a performance stylist was like, oh, and they ruined my hair, and they went to them last time. I'm like, your haircut is beautiful and it's executed well. It's not what you wanted. But I'm like, but I do correct them because here's the thing, you're a team, you know, and I don't believe in that. You don't bash in their stylist work. And I'm like, so I just want to clarify, this is a great haircut. The service was really nice, but it's not what you wanted. It's not that she messed up your hair. And I make very much clear to them to make sure that that's the way they're saying it. And not that this person doesn't know how to cut hair. That is not true. And that can really damage their books, and that's their livelihood. And I don't think it's something to be taken lightly. So
I only say, like when guys come in from other places, I am honest with them to the point where like, I'm like, no, they put a hole right over here.
Oh, me too. Or be like, hey, this side is a half an inch longer.
But I don't feel like where we came from, there's really anything like that going on.
You shouldn't be applauded if you didn't do a good job. But what I'm saying is like, if I knew someone did do a nice job and they executed well, it's just not what the customer wanted and they did what they wanted instead anyway, I just like to let them know, because if that's a good stylist and they do good work, I don't think they deserve that. Right. So I'll try to
for someone to be saying like they don't give good haircuts when that's not what happened. They just didn't give you exactly what you wanted. Right.
Which is still not okay. Right. Okay, that person sits in the chair. I'll let you know if you're going to look silly. I will. But I'm going to do it at the end of the day if that's what you really want.
I think it has a lot to do with that whole consultation situation, which will be another subject that we'll talk about. But I'm actually been discussing with my stylist when we talk about stuff like that, or when she's doing my hair and we're just talking about stuff, how many people are actually having issues with wanting to do the consultation.
Mm-hmm.
And where in our setting, we had like 30 minutes. We had 30 minutes to perform, not just a haircut, but like we have to figure out what you want, do the haircut, and then there's a couple of little extra things in there at the end. We only have 30 minutes to get that done. So I've kind of basically just fine-combed, streamlined the questions that I ask. Because a lot of times they don't know what they're explaining. And if you can ask more clarifying questions to get you what you need, then that would alleviate that situation. I actually have one of my regulars, we literally just discussed the fact that you came up. And because I was like, yeah, we're gonna be doing the interview. And I was asking her, I was like, so what did you think the first time I did your hair? Because I was just trying to get like info for content, for videos and posts and stuff. And he was like, really? I was almost out the door. This was like my last attempt. Because I feel like I had gotten a couple of bad haircuts, right? He was like, but after we did what we did, and then I think about Jennelle and how she cut my hair, she actually gave me exactly what I wanted. She gave me exactly what I asked her for. And he was like, but that wasn't what I wanted. But she gave me exactly what I told her I wanted. But it just really wasn't what I wanted. Yeah. And I was like,
he didn't explain it.
Yeah. Okay. He was like, he didn't know how to explain it. And how you explained it to him, especially because he sounds so confident. And he was like, oh yeah, I told her do X, Y, and Z, and I knew, you know, that that's what I wanted. And she gave me X, Y, and Z, and then I'm looking at it and I'm like, but that's not what I wanted. And I was like, of course, I started laughing too. And I was like, yeah, and that's why I asked some of the questions that I asked. Because if you're trying to talk to her in cosmetology, it's not going to work out.
No.
Because you're not a cosmetologist.
No.
And so he was like, yeah. And then when I think about it, after all the conversations you and I have had over it's almost been 3 years. I've been cutting this dude's hair now. Yeah. He was like, yeah, she gave me what I wanted. And so now I can't even be mad at like the situation because she did exactly what I asked her to do.
Which is interesting because I usually ask a few more leading questions, you know? I'm like, do you have a person?
Yeah, but like, if they come in there like, I got this, right? Yeah, and they're like, this is what I want. Yeah. And they're looking you dead in their face like, this is what I want. Then you're like, all right, let's do this. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And I actually usually won't even suggest something otherwise till about 2 haircuts in. I have this whole thing where I'm like, well, now.
Right.
Now I have your trust.
You don't suggest right away?
I do. When they come in guns blazing, though. And they're like, I always do a 4 on the sides and I trim the top every time, so I've been doing for 10 years. Okay.
True.
We'll do that. And I'll go, we'll look really fun, though, next time. True. And then the next time I'm like, so we've established that.
Because with that same customer we're talking about, he was also like that, too. Like, I don't like short hair and do that. Okay.
All right. So you just appease them. And then once you get their trust, you go,
okay,
I didn't make you look dumb the last time. Maybe.
Now we're ball fading. Right.
Get it, girl. Okay.
That's how that works out.
I love when that happens.
And we laugh about it all the time. Because I'll be like, do you remember when you were like, I don't like short hair and this is what I do? And I was like, he said to me also that because when he was asking for what he was asking for, I kind of was like, I feel you. I didn't say it this way. I feel you, but no. This is what I'm hearing.
Right.
From what you're saying to me. And then he got more of a visual. He was like, oh no, that's not what I'm asking for.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think when you're cutting after people, I think why I do what I do is because like I am immediately trying to gain your trust, right? Yeah, I don't want you to go back down that rabbit hole.
Right.
Because I think that's what you did. You told them what you told me.
Right.
All right, I don't want you back down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So, no.
Right.
I had somebody ask me for a mullet the other day.
What'd you say?
I panicked. He was a teenager. It was super funny. So I panicked. I was like, "You serious?" And he was like, "Yeah, you know, like," and I was like, okay. And I kind of like walked around in a circle. I was like, okay, a mullet. Like, you sure about this? Does your mom know that this is what you're going to do? He's laughing because I'm like,
But boys they do that now.
A mullet. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, you know, because, you know, it's something like we're doing for the team. And I was like,
yeah, it's always like the baseball team. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I gave him the mullet and we laughed about it the whole entire time. I was like, look, okay, if you don't like this, you're not allowed to go tell people that I did this. Okay.
Amen.
And we laughed about it a little while.
You're better than me. I refuse to do mullets.
Really?
I've said no.
I made it look good though.
Did it?
I made it like I made.
I was like, oh, look good, huh?
I made it like a mohawk mullet.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
You could camouflage a little bit.
Kind of mohawkish, but it wasn't. It was a mullet. And then I told him, I was like, and so this is what we're gonna do because I'm not entirely sure that your mom has agreed to this mullet. When you go home, you gotta wear your hair like this, so it looks kind of almost like a business cut.
And
then when you go to school, you take it and you do this, and then now you have your mullet.
Oh my gosh, no! I literally
He didn't come back.
He didn't.
So everything must have been good.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he didn't
fine,
come
yeah.
back like, oh, you gotta fix my, you know,
fix my mullet.
Yes.
Which I hope to never hear those words. Honestly, you're better than me.
Do you do like younger, a lot like younger and
not a ton. No, I have a couple boys. I have about 4. And I've been cutting their hair since they were in high school. And one now has his own business and he's doing well. Yeah, and then the other one's in, he's still in high school, but I got him right beginning of high school. He's almost graduating now. And then one more has already gone off to college. 2 more have gone off to college just very recently. And they're the only ones I've done. But I am very attached to them, obviously. You know, they come and they tell you stuff they don't tell their mom. And what do you think about this girl? She said this, was that mean? And, you know, and then you, some of them were like, I don't know where to go to college. And so they were like, you had a hand in where I went to college. Like they use shape, you know, they allow you to really get in there, and they're so honest, you know, they don't have the guard up like a grown man. It's just really precious. I feel like you build like a certain kind of bond with them.
Right. Because I have some that I started with, and now like the youngest is like a family, and the youngest, he's actually taller than me now. And when I first started cutting his hair, he'd have to sit on the booster seat, and then like one day he walked in and I was looking at him, I was like, we're gonna try it without the seat. And he sat in there and I was like, dude, like, and I keep embarrassing him a little bit. I was like, and then he'll sit down and I'll be like, is that mustache hair? Don't like, oh, I can't handle this. Like,
it does. It hurts your heart a little bit though. You're like,
you went from booster, now you have mustache hair, and he's taller than me now. And I'm like, I can't handle this. I can't. And it's so weird how fast they grow like in front of your face. I'm especially dealing with that with my son, because it's like, just stay my baby for a little bit longer. Every day he's doing something new, and I'm like, just stay just a little longer.
I know, he looks huge to me. Can you imagine?
And you know, it's funny, I was just talking about that like he looks like big, you know, like a toddler, but like he's still like a baby still.
Yeah.
You know, but because he's so tall, like
people
tallish and lanky, you know, they kind of want him to be doing things that like he doesn't need to be doing.
No, he's not ready.
He's still a baby. He still cuddles. Yes, he's still going to, you know, pitch a fit when he's tired. Shit, I pitch a fit when I'm tired.
Yeah, he's almost perfect. Not what she's talking about.
No, he is. No, he's good. Oh, he doesn't beat up dogs. You know how toddlers beat up dogs?
Yes.
He doesn't beat up dogs. He gives them hugs.
Yeah, he gave Ruben a pat. They hugged.
Head?
Yeah.
Ruben, how is Ruben?
He's good.
He's good. Is he still in doggy detention?
In the house today, so.
Oh, doggy detention.
Oh yeah, he's in trouble today.
So, are we working today? Are we cutting hair?
We are not.
Oh.
We don't feel like it today. I mean, I'm booked up. I'm very busy. That's There's the one advantage, yeah, you get to decide. No, but tomorrow we're booked up solid. Tomorrow's a busy day.
You deserve days off. Like
I do. I feel like I do. Yeah.
Of being on your own, you set your days off. If you want to block yourself off because you got some stuff you got to do.
As long as you ahead of time, you never cancel on already existing appointments.
No,
yeah, you can't get to. Don't assume. Yeah, people they want to keep consistency and it needs to be convenient still. But yeah,
don't do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, tomorrow we're booked up solid. So today we took a little.
I normally don't check mine, but I'll probably check it till Thursday and just see how many. I don't know who's coming in, but I can at least see how many spots are grayed out and it kind of give me an idea
how geared up to be.
Just what my day is going to be like. Funny, you remember maybe towards the beginning of me being there and having to build my books up. So there were stints of free time when even if though it's an established chain, you still got to give you a chance, you catch them walk-ins, stuff like that, and you build your book. And by the time I had gotten there, you were the veteran of the establishment. So, she'd be fully booked out like 3 days in advance, 2-3 days in advance. And there would be times, like jokingly, that the place would pretty much be empty except Jennelle and her customer in the front, and everybody else is in the back because we're still building our books up. And she'd be out there just cutting all by herself. She'd be like, I look around and like nobody else is out there cutting.
Yeah, and they'd all be laughing. I'm like, I want to laugh. What's going on back there?
And it's now actually happened a couple of times on Saturday where I'm standing out there and nobody else is out there cutting, and I'm like, oh, this is how she felt. And you don't even and like it's a great feeling when you go to work and there's a program like what we have where like people can book online. There's an app, or they can call in and we have a receptionist and you're able to kind of see what your day looks like. You're able to be like, oh, this guy's gonna be in here, he's gonna be funny, he's telling jokes. But it's still a good feeling to be like 4 hours pass by and you're like, I don't even think I drank some water.
Yeah, it rolls by so fast. So
you're just going and going and going, like, and it's a good feeling. It's even better feeling when that customer comes in who's, let's just say, the hard ass, and he continues to come to your chair no matter like how much he gives you the poker face, and you have no idea if you're doing a good job. Obviously, you're doing a good job because he keeps coming back, but it's just, I kind of feel like I know how you felt those times, like being there, like even though it's like, oh, I'm home by myself, but at least I'm working. Feels good.
I will say too, it's funny because those guys that do the poker face and can be difficult, they're always the ones to follow you. So just keep catering to them because they'll go off on your own and you're like, oh, well, so-and-so is a little difficult. Hopefully not. They will find you.
It's never the ones you think.
Yep.
It's never the ones you think.
I've been beyond surprised. And even the people who've come back and followed me again.
Because even when I was doing some of my earlier works, and because I've done fast forwarding and backtracking at the same time, like I think I've done like maybe 3. I've done hourly. I've done commission. I've done hourly plus commission to where you are hourly, but your hourly can kind of change based upon certain numbers. I've even done salary, believe it or not.
Interesting.
But that was a manager's position.
Okay, got it.
It was a manager's position. They paid you salary, and you only had like hour. So that was something interesting, I guess I totally forgot to talk about. I've been in the situation where as a stylist, I've worked salary. And it was just a stipulation of like, obviously you're keeping your tips. You had to work this many hours a week. You couldn't be scheduled to work under this many hours a week and you were guaranteed that salary. Plus you were able to, if you hit certain numbers, get some bonuses.
But see, also even as commission though, I also had a contract like that.
Did you?
Yes, where
it wasn't where we got.
No, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
What? There was an hourly.
We both did. Me and another girl who had been there for a long time. We it was an agreement that you had to work so many hours.
Wow.
Because you're guaranteed, you know, if when you're always booked up, you're guaranteed X amount of money for the salon, so they want you to be there.
I would think it wouldn't really matter
No,
if you were bringing in.
It was in a contract for one of the girls, but for me it was a verbal, but it's very much understood. Like, I want you to be consistent. You better not go under these many hours because I think that's what's fair. You know, we're giving you your pick of your schedule, so we want you to be here to produce money, you know? And
I don't know how I feel about that.
I feel like that's totally fair, honestly. I did. Because if you're being flexible, right, and you're saying you can pick when you're here because you have a smile and a good attitude, okay, well, make it worth our while. So if we're guaranteeing you primo spots of when you want to be here to produce at least as much money for us. Because they're there to make money at the end of the day. They got to pay those lights and those beautiful chairs.
But why say you have to make this amount of money in this amount of time?
Because they're smart, they've done the math, and they know that that's about the average of what they need to do to make the money out of you that they need to. They know what you're going to produce hourly. They know what the services are, the most popular ones. My stipulation wasn't as hard because I was quick. I could cram in some services.
That's true.
Yeah, but other people, there were more, I absolutely need this much time for this service, and so they had to have so many hours that they were willing to contribute.
Right.
And so for me, it was more of an understanding and like a verbal, hey, I'd like you to be around here. And I abided by it because the flexibility was a trade-off and I feel like it was worth it.
Right.
And so, yeah.
What do you think about, let's see, when you're in the chaining environment and there are things that you need to do, like, okay, maybe you might need to travel or you might need this day off to do this, or your parents are coming into town, if your parents are about town and you just need some time off. What do you think about the fact that like there is a possibility for them to be like, no?
I'm real passionate about that one, actually. That's like a quarter of what I did going on my own. I feel like you should be rewarded. So how I feel about that is exactly this. I'm going to tell you a quick story. I was chaining at another place and I was always the first person to rescue them whenever someone was sick or short-staffed or they needed one more because they had a rush. I would drop everything. And so I expected that loyalty back. I did this to also my following employers. They would understand how important that was to me. Because my attitude is if this building lights on fire metaphorically and every last person is going, I'm gonna be the last person in this building because I'm that valuable. I will make sure I present that much value. Yeah, where they cannot get rid of me. They just can't. And so I went with that attitude and had some scheduling conflict with some time off. They decided that they told me I would not go on that couple of days trip and that my job was threatened. So no, I would not be. And I said, I will be. You can let me know if I need to grab my shears or not and my things. That's how that's going. How dare you, after I contribute all this extra time and have gotten you out of a pickle. So, don't ever threaten my job again. And I said that through the manager. And reiterated it one more time. And I said, that's enough. Okay. So I said, I won't be showing up to work tomorrow. And the owner called me in and I handed him my keys and said, don't ever threaten a Valley employee again. And that was my last day. That's how I feel about that. I don't care if it's a chain. At the end of the day, you're working for a human being. A person owns that. Yeah.
I feel like no one should ever be able to say to you that you're not allowed. Like, you manage one portion of, I guess you could say, my world, which would be the work portion. And this is when you're chaining. This would be the work portion, right? So I've always maintained that I don't like the B word. I despise the B word. And in this instance, what we're talking, the B word is boss. Okay, because I've had to make it clear before a couple of times, you're not my boss. You're the manager and you manage my work. Okay, You don't manage my life. You're not my boss.
I've never referred myself to that with anyone, honestly. I totally understand that. It's
Right?
a Nike, yeah.
I think that's a really iffy word. I don't like it. I've literally had someone say to me, this was eons ago, say to me, I'm the boss, and if you don't like it, you can find somewhere else to work. And I said, no problem. And within 2 weeks, I was handing them my papers to sign because I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think whenever that attitude, I don't care what chain it is, they have that attitude that I'm the boss and you, absolutely not. Once again, they're right to an extent. If you are not a valuable employee, yeah, they're the boss of you.
I don't think that.
What other choices do you have? You want to be
No,
employed?
there's a manager. Like, you manage this situation, right? You're the manager. You manage work, right? But like when we're talking about time off, right?
Right. What I'm getting at is this, though.
Okay.
So you choose whether you have a boss or manager.
True.
If you're valuable, someone manages. You are an adult. You're behaving like an adult.
Right.
You're being responsible. You're being consistent. You're performing your job well. Yeah, you get a manager. They are just very lightly involved. If you say, I need this from you, they say, yes, I can make that happen in this avenue or not. But yeah, if you want someone to treat you like a boss and they're like, oh, I'm your boss and that's the end of it, because you shouldn't be able, you should be able to say, absolutely not, don't interact that way with me, because you should have that value in where you work and in them. If you don't, though, either you're working for the wrong place completely, or that's on you, and then you need to self-reflect. Did I ask for a boss or a manager?
Right. On that note, I have an alarm clock that I gotta go check on. Should I pause it? Hey! Hey.
Baby time.
Hey. Hello. All right. How's it going? How's it going?
Hi, handsome.
Hey. Okay.
Hi.
Coming back. So, we have a special guest. I want you to say hi to the people. Say hi to the people. Ooh, he doesn't like it.
Is that too bright?
All
Hi,
right.
handsome.
Okay. So, I guess alarm clock went off. We can conclude.
Well,
Unless
thank you for
you have
having
any
me.
questions for me or anything you want to add, any words of advice.
I think I've talked a lot. I just want to say that if you're looking to like balance out being a mom and being a lady and still an individual and being a mom and having a career, this is the lady to talk to. Seriously, she knows what's up. Like, you haven't lost your identity in any one aspect. You've always been well-rounded in every aspect of who you are.
It was a fight. I had to fight for it.
I know
that seems crazy to say I had to fight, but just some people will say that, like, when you have a baby or when you take on a career, or you know, they start to make that your specific identity. And I fought to make sure that, like, you understand that's something that adds to me.
Yeah.
It's not just me. It's just an addition of me. It's like another hat, I guess you can say, that you can call it.
But the balance is great.
He actually was the motivation for the blog. It was him. I was on bed rest, just real quick, and I was thinking long term. I was thinking about him being 5 already and being off to school, and I thought about the fact that our industry is demanding, and when I say demanding, I mean time demanding. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of your time, and my husband also works in an industry that is time demanding. And I started thinking about, well, how do we do that? He goes back to school, and then I have this free time to go back to work full time. I that's still like being gone almost 10 hours a day. what do I do? You know, like I started thinking ahead like that, and I was like, well, let me start talking about and helping, and maybe start trying to create some type of business that would maybe allow me to do that. And by the time he gets old enough to go to school, that's just going to be self rolling, and that it will allow me to pick him up from school. He gets 3-4 homemade meals a day. Like, how traumatic would it be to just start getting fruit snacks?
Right.
And what if he wants to play a sport or pick, like, who's going to pick him up? Who's going to do that? What time are we eating dinner? What about homework? And then who's giving back? Like, you know what I mean? Not if I'm working from 10 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. His dad's working from 6:30 in the morning to 7 o'clock at night. So he was actually my motivation for starting this blog and just trying to come up with something, a business that I can do that hopefully by the time he's old enough, it's just self-sustained and running, and it'll free me up to not have to be behind the chair for 8, 9, 10 hours a day. It was Ellis. So
This one.
thanks for coming and doing this for me, Jay.
Of course.
Hopefully I can get you back and we can talk about some other topics. Like I have one. We're going to talk about managing your ego.
Ooh.
I think that's going to be
sounds interesting.
a great topic. I also want to discuss with you at a later point, you know, customers and toting that line between friendships and, you know, this is still business, you know, how you deal with that.
That's a hard
any funny stories you might have about situations that have happened with you and customers. I think that'll be a good topic to discuss. So I hope you enjoyed and tune in for our next episode.
Bye.
Bye.